So let's talk about Jesus overturning tables in the temple. People always, in my opinion, abuse this story from the Bible as a means to carte blanche make everything to do with anger, etc., okay no matter what. The prevailing thoughts on this go something like this: Jesus got mad in the temple, so I can get mad at whatever I feel like, and I'll just call it justified or whatever. Or that was righteous anger. So long as I feel like I'm in the right, then anger is perfectly fine, which may not be the case, but I don't think that's the point he was making. But that's where people take it though. So let's take a look at some things that Jesus did which did not cause him to be angry. I think you can learn a lot from what did not cause him to be angry as much as you can from what did. So, one, Jesus did not get angry about a bunch of villagers who were ready to stone a woman to death. Now, Jesus dealt with that situation, but clearly he never got angry about attempted murder. So, attempted murder, that didn't get him upset. Okay? So, think about that. If someone murdered someone you knew or was about to, etc., um, would you call that righteous anger? Because he wouldn't. In his shoes, he didn't get angry. All right. Number two, Rome occupied Israel at that time. Did Jesus ever get mad about his homeland being ruled by a foreign power? Nope. I know a lot of people who get angry about the border, etc., and that is understandable. But I'm just saying that this sort of thing never got Jesus mad. So Jesus never got mad about the invasion of his own country. Not once. You never saw him lose his cool about it, ever. All right. So we're going to think about things like that and then reflect that back on the basic time that he did get angry. Number three, um, his friend John the Baptist was executed, had his head cut off, but Jesus never got angry about his friend being put to death nor being decapitated. So having your friend decapitated didn't make him angry. Okay, I'm not. We're less than him, so I get it that sometimes we get angry, but that's not the same thing as justifying it biblically. Okay, so five, did Jesus ever get angry for the ways that the Pharisees connived against him? Did Jesus ever get angry at the Pharisees that connived against him? No. Jesus never got angry at the people that were plotting against him. Like I said, I've known people who plot against me. It happens on YouTube. It's a very cutthroat place, right? And like I said, I get angry. I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody else. I'm just trying to prove a point here. So, seven, did Jesus ever get angry at the apostle who hacked off an enemy's ear? Nope. That didn't make him mad. All right. So, possible homicide didn't make him mad. Um, Maiming people with weapons didn't make him mad. His own friend getting decapitated didn't get him mad. People ready to kill someone with stones because they were sleeping around, that didn't make him mad. All right, let's keep reading. Did Jesus ever get angry at the Roman soldiers for beating him till he was bloody? Nope. Jesus never got angry from the soldiers that were physically harming him before he was crucified. They tortured him. Did he get mad about it? Nope. Did Jesus ever get angry about being forced to carry his own cross after being beaten halfway to death? Nope. Never got angry about that. You think that was upset a few people, but not him. 10. Did Jesus ever get angry at the people for crucifying him, for killing him, for taking his life? I don't know what else it's going to take, but no, he did not get angry at the people who were trying to kill him, right? Um, so that didn't make him angry either. So the only thing he ever got angry about was the money exchangers in the temple. So, in order to understand this better, what the real meaning is behind that, in my personal opinion, let's take a look at what other things Jesus had to say about money, shall we? Okay. So, one, do not store treasures on earth, store your treasure in heaven. That means don't value the things of this world, value what you do in this life for what is to come, from the people who get saved by using you as a vessel. Two, you cannot serve both God and money. That implies that two things are incongruent. They don't go together. Money and God, that doesn't really mix. No, you can't. You could assert. You can't only serve one of those. You're either going to serve the world or you're going to serve God. That's the way it works. So, three, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. I think a lot of people misconstrue that and they think, oh, that means, you have to obey the laws of the land, which obviously the apostles that didn't just blindly obey everything. Neither did other people from the Old Testament. I mean, there's a lot of cases where they did just the opposite. So that's not the point. The point isn't to be a good little citizen or whatever. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that you is that people who own the earth, who are into the world, give them the world, let them have it. What they're saying is that God's world is not of money, it's not of this earth. And even though He made the earth, it's a spiritual thing, and so don't hang on to that gold coin or whatever. That's all He's saying, right? And like at that time, it was Caesar. Caesar was the one who was the face of the world, so to speak, the powers of this world, that powers that be, etc. But you're not worried about this life. It's the life to come that matters. So Jesus refuses to settle an inheritance dispute. They were fighting over who got what in an inheritance. If anybody out there has been through an inheritance, you know how it brings out the worst in people. And he warned against this greed. Then you have Judas. Hello, what did they pay him with? Sure wasn't blessings. They paid him with 30 pieces of silver. So even then, when he's selling out God, he's doing it for money. Over and over again, it's the same pattern over and over again. Number 6, it's harder for the rich to enter the kingdom of heaven, and that's true. That's very true, because I don't want to get bogged down in that, but there's a lot of truth in that. Number 7, the poor widow gave more money than all the rich. She only had a few coins to give up, but it was all she had. So it was like that gift was more than all the rich people combined, because it was everything she had. And, so if the value isn't in the money, it's in the spirit behind it. So the love of money is also said to be the root of all evil. Man, this is really starting to line up. 9, it's better to give than to receive. And 10, there was a story about the woman who anointed his feet with oil. It was like preparing him for his death, so to speak. And it was very expensive oil. And the apostles were arguing about, well, could we spend this on this, that, and the other thing instead of the oil? What a waste. But it's from God's perspective, it's like the money, it doesn't even matter. It's the intention behind it, because this world you have to leave behind anyway. So money in the New Testament was at odds with the teachings of Jesus. So money was very close to being thought of as a symbol of evil itself, to some extent. Um, it's a polar opposite of the Spirit of God. So if you remember all things that did not make Jesus angry, those are the types of things that many Christians would argue over, that it's permissible for them to have a righteous anger over. I'm angry about the border. I'm angry about someone stepping on my lawn. I'm angry about taxes. I'm angry. But I disagree with that. I'm not saying that I am better or any worse than anyone else. I'm simply saying that is not, in my opinion, the point he was trying to make. I believe that the spiritual war that we are in has some ground rules. So yeah, Satan will have a short time to rule this world. That's what God has allowed him to do. But right now, there are some ground rules. Think of these like the spiritual Geneva Convention, if you will. For example, they have to tell us in plain sight what they are doing. So they'll hide the truth in humor and codes such as the number 33, etc. So the devil is using every trick in the book to take as many souls with him as he can. So we are the ones who are at a disadvantage. Don't believe me? Just ask Adam. And we've been falling for it ever since. And since the odds are a bit stacked against us as they are, and then it is playing by the Queensberry rules, is that the case? Are they playing by the Queensberry rules to poison the church as well? I mean, when you have all these things set against you, and the odds are all set against you, think about it. which is the one of the few chances we have to actually get the truth. Think of the world as an ocean of lies, and we are trying to make our way with the flotsam and jetsam that's left from a crashed ship that surrounds us from our lives. And the only hope is a few beacons of light from the lighthouses that remain. And those lighthouses are the Word. So when evil itself was allowed to flourish in his own temple, this was cheating, for a lack of a better word, or rigging the outcome. And Jesus was angry because this was far beyond being an unfair advantage. It's like there was no hope at all. There was no way to find the truth. Because if even the churches are doomed, which they kind of are now, it kind of makes us become the beacons. So Jesus was angry because this was rigging the game against finding salvation. Because that's what this is all about. It's not about the money. It's not paying the taxes. It's not about the border. It's not about stars and stripes. It's not about your house or your 401k and all that stuff. Now you can get angry about that. Sure. Maybe, BlackRock or someone else steals your 401k. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm saying that's not what this is all about. And that's why he was angry, because no matter what happens in this world, no matter what you lose, no matter what you do, no matter what you most value, nothing can be more valuable than Christ and your salvation. So um, that's what he was mad about. He was mad that um, by corrupting the church or the temple, whatever you want to call it, it was it was a way above rigging the odds so that we had absolutely no chance whatsoever. And that's what he was mad about, because none of the other stuff really matters in this world. The only thing that mattered to him, and the one thing that made him mad, was uh, not allowing us to find salvation, and everything else pales in comparison. That's the point. Um, like the other examples of money consistently treat it like the manifestation of evil incarnate. So if the temple was rife with evil, how is someone supposed to have a chance at salvation? This is similar to how God had set um, up, he set up Noah in the flood in the world to build the ark in order to save us from the evils of the Nephilim bloodline, which had corrupted so much of creation. That's how it works out. And if he hadn't come in, there wouldn't be anything left, right? I mean, that's how unfair evil is. It's just so pervasive. It's everywhere. And the odds are just stacked against us. And evil doesn't play by the rules anyway, as proven by this whole thing. So we are still in the days of Noah now, like we were back then. So it's the same thing all over again. And so that's why he was mad in the temple. It had nothing to do with this, that, and the other thing, or making anger okay. The point was that that's the most valuable thing, and to cut us off from with no hope at all, that's against the rules. So to recap, the only thing that angers God is when we do not have a fair shot at salvation, at least according to the New Testament. So God is not angry that if you are killed, or if your country is invaded, or if you fail to pay taxes, or if the taxes are too high, or if you spend your rent on anointing feet with oil. God is not angry with your worldly needs. God is not here to save your border or your physical things or your 401k or your families, etc. We all must leave this world at some time or another, including family members. And this shows that above all else, God is here for your salvation outside of this worldly existence. And that's the most important thing for anybody. And we all eventually have to walk that path alone by ourselves. And so that's the point. Now, now we're going to change subject here a little bit. The reason why YouTube is giving people their channels back, and this is my feeling on that, is that next, let's talk about YouTube giving truthers their channels back. Now, considering all of the ways YouTube has gone out of their way to stifle these truther channels and single them out, then the obvious question becomes why? Why are they giving back the truther channels their channels if they were trying to suppress the truth coming out from them? Obviously, at one point, there was information that they were providing that they did not want to seep out. So they basically turned off the faucets on the truther channels and just eradicated their channels altogether. But now all of a sudden it's okay. Whatever they were, this cardinal sin that they were doing before has now become okay. How does that even make sense? So the only reason why they're going to do this, which makes sense, is it's too late. It's too late. They're they are not worried about us anymore. I hate to burst your bubble, but that's the truth. At this point in the game, there's nothing left to do. I mean, sure, you can still talk about this or that and the other thing, but realistically, I mean, it's done. We are no longer a threat to them. If we were, we wouldn't be here right now. And to people who think conspiracies are a waste of time, you think you might want to ask yourself why so many more truther channels than solely Christian channels were taken down by YouTube in the first place. Obviously, there was something that they didn't want the truther channels to tell you about. And since we are on the subject, some people are missing the point that the Bible itself is mainly about a conspiracy. Hello, didn't Satan conspire against God? You know? So you never realize that Satan's plan to rebel was itself a conspiracy. And all of the other conspiracies are either directly or indirectly linked to the devil's conspiracy in heaven and so on earth. So don't think the watchers faking mutual curses. I'm sorry. So you don't you don't think that the watchers taking mutual curses to ensure loyalty before they decided to take on human wives was a conspiracy? The elites are still doing the same thing today. Did you think that the evil stopped existing all this time? Are we supposed to ignore evil? I think not. And the Bible warns us about evil for a reason. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes in the past, I've gotten tired of truther channels as well, because at the end of the day, really, all it does is lead to to understanding that Christ is coming back, and we're just this close to tribulation and to focus, right? Um, so once you get that part, then I guess you're right. You don't really need all that other stuff. But at the same time, it's still useful information to know. But more importantly, not everybody comes to Christ the same way. And for some people, they need to see the dark side. They need to see the shadow before they can see the light, to see what it's connected to. So you don't think that like I said, most of the time, truthers are usually Christian as well. It's hard not to be Christian once you look into conspiracies, because you see the same patterns and the same telltale signs over and over again. For example, Albert Pike revealed that Freemasonry was all about worshiping Lucifer. And so once you dig deep enough, you realize that Lucifer controls the government, Hollywood, the music industry, the media, the universities, and the corporations like BlackRock, etc. Now that I have your attention, I think it's safe to presume that most people out there will understand that conspiracies are directly connected to the spiritual warfare that's unfolding all around us. It should be no surprise to anyone that YouTube is connected to Google, which was funded by the CIA, just like Palantir was. So it should be no surprise that YouTube, in the past, purged themselves of the majority of the bigger truther channels that were having the biggest impact on people. So if YouTube eliminated these channels because they are supposedly such a danger to society, then why would they bring these channels back? Unless, of course, these channels were really purged because they were waking people up to the true evil that was behind everything that was happening around them. And the people who really ruled this world did not want that information getting out because it could hinder their plans. Hello? So this implies that YouTube is no longer threatened by these truther channels. That's the only thing that makes sense, because if you hold the power and you can stop people from coming back, which obviously they can, then they must not be worried about you now. That means something had to change. And since have already explained that this was all connected to Lucifer, the implication is that everything is already in place for the Antichrist. And then the assertion leads to questions about what other proof is out there that the end is near. So let's go over some of those things, shall we? One of those is the red heifers that are in Israel right now, and one of them has already successfully been sacrificed. What this means is that they can rebuild the third temple at any time now. The rebuilding of the third temple sets the stage for the abomination of desolation, where the Antichrist proclaims himself to be God in the temple. This is the beginning of tribulations. Also, from Trump's Operation Genesis, people are calling, and then there's that biblical word Genesis, which, if you haven't seen so already, Casey from Enter the Stars did a really great video on that. I put a link to that in my share section, or whatever it's called. People are calling this the final piece of the beast system, where everything is being put into place for Palantir using the new data factories to provide Lucifer and his artificial all-seeing eye. Basically, the capstone of the beast system, non-stop surveillance of everything we do. This is why I say that YouTube giving truthers back their channels means we are no longer a threat to the beast system. Let me say that again for people who are hard-headed. That means we are no longer a threat to the beast system. At least the talking isn't. YouTube has the power to do whatever it wants. So it's not like it's worried about answering to anyone here. And given the other evidence, what else could it be? And if you consider the digital ID and other biblical signs, such as the fig tree metaphor coming true, then both secular and biblical evidence is all pointing towards the same thing. The implications being that the Antichrist will soon be revealed. So whatever you are planning to do to stop Lucifer's New World Order, you might want to step that up with the quickness, because you are running out of time at best. So I pray in Jesus' name that if you have not found Christ yet, that you do so now before it is too late. Okay, and then I want to finish this up with a third thought. And so I hope this first part isn't too brutal, but I'm trying to build a mood to the point. And I pray in Jesus' name that I was successful to be a vessel in that regard. But here we go. A lot of people feel this way during the holidays. The memories of holidays in the past just remind you of how alone you are right now. Or maybe this time of year helps you to remember people you have lost. Now, this isn't for everybody. Some people are fortunate enough to have never gone through that sort of thing yet in life, and that is a blessing. But for others, the holiday season can be a hard time of year indeed, with a remembrance of things past, like the ghosts of Christmas past from Charles Dickens in A Christmas Carol. But at some point in most people's lives, even if only for a fleeting moment, there are moments of loneliness, or maybe it feels like the whole world is against you. Maybe you feel ostracized and left out of the group, like you do not belong. Very similar to this is a feeling of betrayal, like many people can relate to being stabbed in the back. Like no matter what you do for someone, it will never truly be appreciated. And whatever you do for someone, it's never enough. Sometimes all people do is take and take. And of course, this leads to the question, why me? What have I done to anyone to deserve this? And I was there for that person when nobody else was. I helped them when nobody else would. I gave up so much for them. I gave them my heart and soul, and they betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. And now they talk behind my back when I have done absolutely nothing to them to deserve this treatment. And people who have wronged you, who were just being manipulated by someone who is pure scum, but they never bothered to ask you about the truth to get your side. And when you looked for help, all people would do is turn their backs to you. Some people are more concerned with fitting in than they are with doing the right thing. Some people interpret nice as a sign of weakness. They use you as a doormat. And when you are in need, everyone abandons you. People turn their backs on you. You can give some people all the love in the world, all the chances in the world, right to the bitter end, and it still will not be enough. Sometimes it's not just your so-called friends who turn their backs on you, but it is your own family, your own flesh and blood who ignores your cries for help. Not every father is always there for their children. Not every mother is nurturing. What should be is not always the way things are. And in those moments, you have to ask yourself a question. Is all this really worth it? Why should I even bother? What is the point? A father who abandons his son maybe grows up without even knowing who his father is, and it can feel like there is never, ever anyone there when the chips are down. The same people who are there for the good times suddenly forget who you are when things get hard. All the people in this life who have abused the trust you place in them, all the family that has turned their backs on you when you needed them, and all the people who think you don't know that they betrayed you without even bothering to ask you first. So, what is the point? Why should I ever do anything to anyone or for anyone ever again? Fuck them all. Check, please. I'm done. I've had it with giving people, period. Have you ever eaten your school lunch alone? Have you ever been embarrassed by people you thought were your friends who now do not want to be seen with you? Well, that must have been similar to how Jesus felt. His closest friends abandoned him. His own people rejected him and embraced Barabbas. He was brutally beaten by the people he had come to save. He was literally dying for us in one of the most excruciatingly painful ways possible, and all for people who couldn't care less about him, and they mocked him as they nailed him to the cross. I believe he created us to give him love out of our own free will. And I have no idea how much it must have hurt to know that literally nobody in the entire world loved him back, and that you were dying for people who laughed at your pain as they mocked him and spit on him. He was abandoned by the people he saved and murdered by his own image in the creation of man. This kind of emotional pain is beyond our worldly understanding, but through his sacrifice, we are all saved. Praise Jesus' name. So just remember, if you find yourself alone for the holidays, that you are never truly alone when you have the Holy Spirit within you. And never stop praying, even for the people who hurt you. Whatever we go through, we are never alone. God bless everyone in Jesus' name.